Tonight, the major plane warning that could affect airlines across the country, and the new storm set to slam the east during the busiest travel weekend of the year. Mysterious alert for a popular jet used around the world over a flight control issue that's got to be fixed. That warning could affect thousands of planes and flights just in time for that rush home from Thanksgiving. So how bad could the disruptions be? Plus, the winter blast beginning tonight. The Midwest already getting hit. Look at that, more than a foot of snow in some spots. And big travel hubs like Chicago, Dallas, New York bracing for impact. We're timing it out. Also tonight, new details into the brutal and deadly Washington, D.C. ambush. Shocking video showing the moment the suspect fires on two young members of the West Virginia National Guard. One of them now dead. Officials say that shooter will be charged with first-degree murder. The West Virginia governor is going to join Top Story Live. Millions crowding malls and flooding online shopping sites. But are the deals really as good as they used to be? An update to our report on the pregnant woman in labor sent home, only to give birth in her car moments later. The legislative action her case has inspired. Luigi Mangione due back in court Monday. Our legal expert breaking down what to expect, plus the new ruling about what he can wear. And the incredible image of a butterfly-shaped nebula. Can you believe that? Captured from a telescope thousands of light years away. Plus, think concerts cost too much? We'll tell you about the rising music star who took on ticket resellers and won. Top Story starts right now. Good evening, I'm Hallie Jackson in for Tom, and we begin tonight with a 1-2 punch that could complicate the trip home for millions of Americans over this Thanksgiving weekend. That's because one of the biggest aircraft companies in the world, Airbus, along with aviation regulators, ordering immediate repairs to one of its most popular groups of plane models. This is the A320, as it's known. You're seeing it here. Thousands of them are used across several major airlines, all of which are now going to have to update critical software on each individual plane. That could take days, and it couldn't be coming at a worse time here in this country, with one of the busiest travel weekends of the year getting started. And now a major storm could make things even worse as it gets ready to sweep through the country. You see it there from the Rockies to the Northeast. We've already seen snowy spots like this one here by the Great Lakes. And then look at this in Cleveland. Highways there. Man, that is messy. That's a messy commute on your Friday. It's just the beginning of what could be a major winter blast. We've got team coverage tonight, starting with our Valerie Castro at Chicago's O'Hare Airport.
Just as the busy holiday travel season begins, tonight a serious plane warning. Airbus and aviation officials worldwide ordering immediate repairs to its widely used A320 family of jets after discovering a software issue affecting critical flight systems. That means thousands of planes could be grounded until the software can be updated.
This is a very major deal. It's going to take a few days to sort through this.
Airbus acknowledging that the issue will lead to operational disruptions to passengers and customers. It comes after an October incident on a JetBlue flight from Cancun to Newark. The plane packed with passengers making an emergency landing after a flight control problem causing a sudden drop in altitude, injuring more than a dozen on board. That
led to a detailed review of what happened, and the findings are what caused this action being taken today. It doesn't appear that it could have brought down an airplane.
American Airlines, one of many carriers impacted by this, says the update process will take around 2 hours per aircraft to complete. Critical hours that could cause delays during the holiday rush that's already facing complications from dangerous winter weather. Major snowfall continuing to slam the Great Lakes region, including this town in Ohio, and turning roadways near Cleveland into slick sheets of ice. All just ahead of Sunday, set to be the busiest travel day of the year.
Valerie is joining us now from Chicago's O'Hare Airport. So let's talk timeline here, Valerie. How long do we think this is going to take to get sorted out?
Well, Hallie, starting at midnight tonight, these planes can't fly until they are fixed. Aviation experts believe it could be resolved in a matter of days. This is just a software fix, so once those updates are made, the planes should be good to fly. Hallie?
What else do we know about why Airbus is having to make this fix in the first place, Valerie?
So Airbus says this issue stems from a solar radiation issue that was impacting flight controls, and that's essentially what happened with that JetBlue flight. But in that case, the pilots were able to quickly recover. Hallie?
Valerie Castro live for us there in Chicago. Valerie, thank you. To our other major headline tonight, the investigation into that deadly ambush on the National Guard here in D.C. The suspect, an Afghan national. And tonight, some breaking news on asylum claims in the U.S. in the wake of that shooting. I want to bring in Ryan Nobles, joining us from outside the hospital where the injured guardsman is being treated. And Ryan, in just the last few minutes, we've seen the Trump administration say they're going to put a pause on asylum claims.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Hallie. This is the director of the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services Agency saying tonight in a post on social media that the administration is going to halt all asylum claims until they can review the vetting process. It comes in the wake of this shooting here in Washington, D.C. that has left a member of the National Guard dead.
This dramatic video, obtained exclusively by the Wall Street Journal, shows the moment the gunman ambushed members of the National Guard. Here you can see a revolver in his hand. The video also capturing a guardsman opening fire on the suspect, who's now facing a murder charge.
There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree.
Tonight, 24-year-old guardsman Andrew Wolf remains in critical condition, fighting for his life. 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom died on Thanksgiving.
She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now.
Adam Carr dated Beckstrom for years, only breaking up recently. He says she didn't want to go to D.C. at first, but ended up enjoying the work.
She'd send pictures all the time, just even patrolling, doing, her duty, and she was happy.
He says Beckstrom hoped her time in the Guard would open doors to a future working in law enforcement.
What should we remember about her?
Oh, just how friendly she was, how big-hearted she was, how she was willing to do anything for anyone, and she never held a grudge against anyone, really.
Meanwhile, tonight, law enforcement officials from coast to coast pouring into the background of the suspect, Ramanallah Lochinwall, including executing search warrants on his home in Washington state. Lochinwall, a refugee, arrived in the U.S. in 2021, part of a Biden-era program for Afghans that worked with the American military. He worked with the CIA and was granted asylum by the Trump administration in 2025. Now, President Trump calling into question that program, suggesting he would pause all migration from third world countries and examine green card holders from certain countries. Sean Van Diver runs a program that helps Afghans who supported the American military resettle in the U.S. He is worried the actions of one person could put thousands of others in danger.
This man has got to be held accountable to the full extent of the law, but you can't have community punishment for all immigrants because one jerk went and did a crazy thing.
Ryan is back live with us now. And Ryan, there's also a potential change on the way to Guard patrols in D.C. here?
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. And if you've been in the nation's capital recently during this National Guard ramp-up, you've noticed that these National Guard troops, for the most part, are patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. on their own. But the Metro Police telling us tonight that they are going to step up their coordination with the National Guard, and the Washington Post is reporting that could mean that Metro police officers will be patrolling the streets with members of the National Guard in the very near future. Hallie?
Ryan Nobles for us here in Washington. Ryan, thank you. Later on this hour, we will be joined by the West Virginia Governor, Patrick Morrisey, for the latest on this investigation and his message to the West Virginia National Guard. Stay with us. I want to turn you out to the multiple storm systems threatening to disrupt this post-holiday travel rush. Our NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns is tracking all of it. And, Bill, it is going to get messy, and it's going to get messy pretty soon.
I mean, Hallie, we're talking about the biggest snowstorm for some areas in the Midwest in 4 years. I mean, and here it is, Thanksgiving holiday weekend. So it's just a horrible timing. So the snow is already breaking out. Snow is shown here in blue. It's going to start tonight in Iowa. By the time you wake up tomorrow morning in Chicago, the snowflakes will be falling. And it is going to snow all day long throughout the lower Great Lakes, Chicago, Milwaukee, Des Moines. And then eventually, tomorrow night, it will come to an end. There will be a period of snow moving through Pennsylvania, New York, northern New England. That'll be on Sunday. But most of the East Coast, it's too warm. This will be a rain event, not a big snowstorm. So the bullseye for the snowstorm from Omaha to Des Moines to Davenport, the Quad Cities could get up to a foot here. Chicago, we're looking somewhere between 6 to 10 inches of snow. Same for you, Madison to Milwaukee. The northern extent for the high impact is really Minneapolis, St. Louis on the south side. St. Louis, you'll probably start us cold enough for snow, then go over to some rain. But Interstate 80 is just going to be a mess. So airports, obviously, airlines aren't even sending their planes to the Chicago area. They don't want them there in the middle of the storm. So there's going to be a lot of flight cancellations, probably already. And then if you're driving, Interstate 80 and Interstate 90, by far the worst going through the Midwest. As the storm heads to the East Coast, it'll be minor delays late in the day. It's not going to be like what we're dealing with in the Midwest, but rain moving through, maybe some small ground stops. Interstate 95 and also Interstate 90 will be wet, kind of, Hallie, but nothing compared to tomorrow. Tomorrow is maybe one of the worst winter storms we'll see in the Midwest all winter. I mean, 10 inches of snow is a big deal.
Yeah, no kidding, slamming right up against when people are trying to get home from the Thanksgiving holiday. Bill Cairns, plenty for you to stay busy with this weekend. Thanks. We are also, of course, in the final hours of Black Friday, so clock's ticking if you haven't gotten some of your holiday shopping done yet. An estimated 130 million of us are expected to take advantage of some of those sales, even with concerns about the economy and some of those high costs because of tariffs. Our Brian Chung is, of course, at the mall checking in with shoppers.
People literally racing into Black Friday with gift cards at the door at Bass Pro Shops and goodie bags for the first shoppers at Target. From California to New Jersey, Americans across the country still showing up to stores and the mall in droves this Black Friday in search of deals.
I feel like the percentages are getting lower and lower and lower. Like, it used to be like 50% off, and now it's like only like 30%.
The discount dash happening as tariffs threaten higher prices. MasterCard saying leather gloves, sweaters, and toys are among the most tariff gifts compared to last year. It also comes as Americans increasingly worry over affordability. Recent readings on consumer sentiment falling to a 7-month low.
Do you feel like you're going to have to make compromises on like gift shopping or your budget this year?
Absolutely. Things are really expensive this year. And I think this is a great time to get some deals and kind of take some of the pressure off.
Shoppers we met last Black Friday.
If the deal is right. Yeah. That's our motto.
Telling us when we met up again today that the deals were just okay.
The doorbusters just aren't the same because they started a week ago already.
Spending so far points to shoppers still opening their wallets, as data on online spending showed a record $6.4 billion spent just on Thanksgiving. For the entire holiday shopping season, spending is expected to cross the $1 trillion mark for the first time ever. Shoppers saying even if it's not about the spend, at least Black Friday is still about the spirit.
We love doing this. It's part of our tradition, and it's really just exciting to see what's out there.
Brian Chung is joining us now from the Garden State Plaza Mall in Paramus, New Jersey. And Brian, we're getting our first scoop in of Black Friday. How much people are spending online so far, right?
Yeah, Adobe just giving us these numbers in the last few minutes. They said that $8.6 billion, that's how much has been spent online so far. That means that we're on pace for almost $12 billion in online shopping this Black Friday. If that happens, that would be a record. That would certainly also bode well when you consider that the Thanksgiving online sales were also a record. These numbers are not accounting for anything that's happening in person, so those numbers could get even higher and higher as they do come in. Again, you'd imagine all that boding well for a strong holiday shopping season weekend into Cyber Monday as well.
Brian, let's say you've been busy. Let's say you've been doing live shots at the mall all day and haven't been able to get the shopping done. Do you need to get it in by midnight? Can you wait till Cyber Monday? Is there anything we should wait until Cyber Monday for?
Yeah, look, I mean, Black Friday, which used to be the only day during this holiday shopping weekend that you could score those deals, is not really all that unique anymore. There's the calendar creep where you have a lot of those deals being offered as early as a month ago. Again, Amazon offering their big shopping event in October. But now there's also the creep going forward from here. You can buy things on Cyber Monday, and experts are telling us even if you don't score the deal that you want today or even through the weekend into Monday, there's still some discounts to be had through December. In fact, some people telling me that winter items, sweaters, even holiday decor might be even heavily discounted as we get into the first and second weeks of December.
And Brian, it's also important to remember that sometimes that Black Friday deal isn't actually that much of a steal.
Yeah, we got some really fascinating data from Wallet Hub saying that 36% of these Black Friday deals don't offer any discounts compared to a month ago. Again, that is probably in part due to the fact that these retailers are offering these deals earlier and earlier in the year. But it's a good reminder for those consumers as they're going out there and shopping. Make sure you get a little help from your phone, do a little price comparison to make sure that the deals that you're seeing are truly the best discounts that you're going to have to make sure that you're staying under budget this holiday shopping season.
Tell you what, that mall behind you packed on this Friday night. Brian Chung, thank you very much.
A lot of people, Hallie.
No kidding. Thanks, pal. Stake overseas now in Venezuela specifically, because President Trump says the military there could very soon carry out strikes on land, the U.S. military, in what would be an escalation of operations that so far have focused on alleged drug traffickers out at sea. Kelly O'Donnell has the latest.
A new sign of aggression coming from President Trump toward Venezuela, along with a new report of a phone call between the president and that country's leader, Nicolas Maduro, late last week, according to the New York Times.
We warned them, stop sending poison to our country.
Any direct contact stands out because the U.S. this week designated Maduro the head of a foreign terrorist organization and led 3 months of deadly strikes at sea, bombing vessels, the administration says, transport illegal drugs. More than 80 killed. Now President Trump is ramping up his threat.
And we'll be starting to stop them by land also. The land is easier, but that's going to start very soon.
This week, Maduro engaged in his own saber rattling. However theatrical, he also met with his military, pledging to defend every inch of Venezuela. Tuesday, the president told reporters he might talk to Maduro, but did not indicate any call had already happened.
If we can save lives, if we can do things the easy way, that's fine. And if we have to do it the hard way, that's fine, too.
Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth visited the USS Gerald Ford in the Caribbean and stopped in the Dominican Republic amid the U.S. buildup.
In waging this war on narco-terrorists, we're willing to go on the offense. Go on the offense in a way that changes the dynamic for the entire region.
Kelly O'Donnell is traveling with the president in West Palm Beach. She is joining us live. And Kelly, it's important to note here that any escalation with Venezuela could certainly mean new criticism from lawmakers here in Washington, where I'm sitting on the Hill.
And they have been watching it very carefully. Certainly, most Democrats have been opposing this, but a few Republicans as well have raised questions about the legal justification the administration is using to carry out these strikes in international waters. The administration has defended that, saying that they are within their rights to enforce national security protections for the United States, trying to interdict any drug flow that could reach the U.S. There are questions about where some of those drug boats are actually headed. And of course, there are larger questions about whether all of this pressure is about trying to get Maduro to leave his position, a leadership role that the United States does not designate as the appropriate leader for Venezuela. Hallie?
Kelly O'Donnell in South Florida, thank you. To some disturbing video now out of the West Bank, capturing the moments Israeli border police shoot and kill 2 Palestinian men. The IDF now saying the incident is under review. Here's Hala Garani.
Tonight, shocking video coming out of the occupied West Bank. Israeli border police caught on camera in Jenin Thursday shooting and killing 2 Palestinian men who appear unarmed and surrendering. The video shows the pair exiting a building. They are kneeling with their hands up. The men then lift their shirts, presumably to show they're not carrying weapons or wearing explosives. The footage, filmed by a Palestinian TV channel and which has no audio, shows a soldier kicking one of the men, then shows both men apparently forced back inside the building at gunpoint. They are both shot, their bodies later dragged out. The Israeli military and police today issuing a joint statement that the incident is under review. But for the United Nations and for Palestinians, this is another example of Israeli forces acting with impunity.
We're appalled by the brazen killing by Israeli border police yesterday of 2 Palestinian men in Jenin in the occupied West Bank.
The militant group Palestinian Islamic Jihad confirmed that the 2 men were fighters for the group and identified them as Al-Muntazir Billah Abdullah and Yusuf Assasa. Abdullah's brother today visited the storage facility where the killings happened, blood still on the floor. And Hallie, Israeli media here are reporting that the Justice Ministry is opening an internal investigation into 3 of the border police involved in this incident. But human rights groups often say that these internal probes rarely lead to accountability when there is wrongdoing. Hallie?
Hala Garani, thank you. An active investigation tonight in the Caribbean after an American tourist was stabbed and killed on the island of Tobago. Police finding him dead outside a small fishing village. And tonight, a suspect is in custody. George Solis has been tracking this case and is joining us now from Miami. So, George, walk us through. What do we know about this victim? What happened to him? And where does this go next?
Yeah, Hallie, tonight the investigation is still ongoing, even with one person in police custody. Now, according to authorities in Tobago on Wednesday, officers responded to a call of a tourist in the town of Castrata. When they got there, they say they found a man that was unresponsive, what they described as visible injuries. Now, authorities today identifying the victim as 43-year-old Christopher Brown of Colorado. Police say Brown had been in the company of friends earlier in the evening in that area. Now, earlier today, I spoke with the president of the tourism board there, who said he, alongside the community, just completely heartbroken by the loss, adding he believes this all could have been stemming from a case of mistaken identity. Now, as for the individual now in police custody, all we know so far is that he's a 24-year-old man from the island, but no further details were provided. And tonight, the U.S. State Department also confirming the death, but saying out of respect for the family and loved ones, offered no further comment. Hallie?
George Solis, thank you. Back now with the rideshare ramming caught on camera. Some pretty scary video showing a man repeatedly slamming his car into the back of a Lyft. And police say he had a relationship with that passenger inside. Liz Kreutz reports.
It's a terrifying incident in a Lyft rideshare. Shortly after picking up a passenger from work just before 5 a.m. in Washington state, police say a man in a separate car began aggressively following the vehicle, ramming into it not once, not twice, but 4 times. The crash is activating the car's collision detection system.
Yes, please, for someone is ramming us. Okay, I'm calling 911 right now. Yes, please.
According to authorities, the suspect is in a relationship with the rideshare passenger. It's unclear why he was following her, but police are calling it a domestic violence-related assault.
Do you know him? Police station, please. Where's the police station at?
Police say the crash shattered the Toyota Camry's rear window and nearly pushed the car over a 20-foot embankment. This photo shows the damage. According to authorities, they eventually got out of the area and to a police station, where both the driver and passenger were then treated for injuries. Police now praising the driver, saying her actions prevented a tragedy.
She was able to think quickly on her feet in the face of extreme danger.
Liz is joining us now from Los Angeles. It is scary to watch. It's scary to see. Police presumably know the name of the person who was doing the ramming, the suspect who was hitting that car from behind. Because of that prior relationship here, they're still looking for him. They don't know where he is. Is that the deal?
Yeah, Hallie, he remains at large. This happened about 2 weeks ago. They just released this footage, and yet they still haven't been able to locate him, even though they do know his identity. They have not released it publicly. Police tell us they were able to locate his car in Portland, Oregon, which is about 15 minutes away from Vancouver, Washington, where this happened. They tell me that he faces a series of federal charges, including assault and reckless abandonment. We did also get a statement from Lyft today. They told us that they are deeply concerned by this incident. They said when they learned about it, they reached out to both the Lyft driver and the passenger, and that they are ready to assist law enforcement in this investigation. Hallie.
Liz Kreutz, thank you. We should note here, if you or somebody you know is a victim of domestic violence, there is help with the National Domestic Violence Hotline. You see it there, 1-800-799-7233. Much more to get to here on Top Story, including a plane crashing into a neighborhood in the suburbs of Chicago. Look at that, right in somebody's backyard. We'll tell you what happened. Plus, the out-of-this-world light show, the science behind this incredible cosmic butterfly. But first, Top Story's top moment and the little hero going viral during preparations for the 99th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. This was before the parade even kicked off. A young Spider-Man using all of his spidey senses to help officials inflate the float, the balloon on New York's Upper West Side. Look. He's doing it, right? There's Big Spidey now making its way down Manhattan, thanks to the help, of course, from Little Spidey, as the countdown to next year's 100th parade kicks off already. Stay with us. We've got more news on the way. We We are back now with an update on a story we first brought you earlier this month. A black mother forced to give birth on the side of the road after a hospital discharged her while she was in labor. Now, new legislation named in her honor is expected to be introduced in the House early next week in the hopes of protecting all expecting mothers. Zincle Esimwa has this one.
Our healthcare system is broken. Black women across the country are suffering and dying.
An intimate moment of pain captured for the world to see is now sparking legislative change.
Mercedes' courage propelled me to introduce new legislation to protect all moms.
Earlier this month, a black woman, Mercedes Wells, labored for 6 hours at Franciscan Health Crown Point Hospital in Indiana before she was discharged without ever seeing a doctor. Minutes later, she gave birth in her car. The video prompted backlash, and one day after our NBC News report,
Clay, what'd you learn?
Yeah, Tom, change. The hospital's president and CEO apologizing to Wells and her family, firing involved hospital staff, and mandating cultural competency training for all labor and delivery staff. And now there's new legislation, the Wells Act, announced by Illinois Representative Democrat Robin Kelly.
This is a pretty swift response to an incident that happened just over a week ago. Why now? Why is this so important, and what's in it?
I've been working on the issue of maternal mortality and morbidity for about 9 years. So this is just another chapter. It needs to be done.
Yeah.
Nothing to play around with.
The Women Expansion for Learning and Labor Safety Act seeks to require any hospital that provides obstetric, emergency, or labor and delivery services to have a safe discharge labor plan before discharging a patient who presents with signs or symptoms of labor. It also mandates racial bias training for healthcare professionals.
Why do you think this will have bipartisan support? Is this an issue that resonates?
Too many women, period, die in the United States. We don't rank well with countries like us. So women are interested. I mean, all kind of women die, but black women die more.
The lawmaker's office drafting the legislation after seeing video of Mercedes Wells, an Illinois resident and constituent of Representative Kelly, the two appearing in a press conference on Tuesday. The lawmaker has led maternal health legislation through Congress before, including the Maternal Health Quality Improvement Act, which passed in 2022, and she reintroduced the Care for Moms Act this week, which is not yet passed.
Still, the numbers are very, very bad for black women in the United States, still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than their white counterparts. So it seems that the legislation is not doing enough. What's missing? What's the missing link here?
Well, I mean, racism is a big link of it, systemic racism, and that's what we have to work on.
Why has this been so important for you to champion as a mother, as a lawmaker?
I had no idea that this was happening until someone called me up and said, I want to tell you a story. I did not realize it was such an issue, and I hit the ground running and just learned how many people have been impacted by this.
And Representative Kelly tells us she plans to bring her proposal to the floor after the holiday week. As for how that mother, Mercedes Wells, is doing, at the press conference, she told reporters that she had to go back to the hospital for pain that she described having never experienced before. So we're continuing to monitor her health postpartum. She says her daughter, Elena, is doing well. Hallie.
Zincle Esimwa, thank you very much. Turning now to Top Stories news feed, starting with UPS grounding a fleet of planes indefinitely, even right in the middle of the holiday shopping season. They're grounding all of its MD-11 planes. This is the same model that was involved in that deadly crash in Kentucky earlier this month. You remember that one? 14 people died after the plane's left engine detached during takeoff, and it just erupted into this fireball. UPS thinks it's going to take several months to get that fleet back up and running because of inspections and possible repairs. A small plane has crashed near a building after veering off the runway in a suburb of Chicago. The plane's pilot apparently lost control when trying to land, then overshot the runway, and look at that, rolled right up against that building. Both the pilot and the passenger were taken to the hospital. And singer Olivia Dean getting her fans partial resale ticket refunds for her North American tour. She's a Grammy-nominated artist, and she was slamming Ticketmaster online because of resale tickets being priced at like 14 times their original face value. Dean says the vendors agreed to refund anybody who overpaid for a ticket, and they'll also cap future resale prices for her shows. And have you seen this? This telescope in Chile capturing an incredible image of a cosmic butterfly. Look at that. It's called a butterfly nebula, captured last month. The butterfly wings that you see are shaped by gas from an aging star in its center. This thing is 3,800 light years away. It's just a marvel to look at. Luigi Mangione, the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is due back in court Monday for a series of key hearings involving evidence gathered from multiple scenes. Newly released body camera images show Mangione's arrest last year at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania, where police searched his clothes and his backpack for evidence. But Mangione's defense team says the stuff they found should not be used in court. For more on this, I want to bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris, who's joining us now. Misty, this is a super high-profile case, right? So any sort of development in the court process is going to get some attention here. You've got this evidence that Mangione's team is trying to throw out here. Based on your assessment, do they have a good argument?
So this is going to be a MAP hearing and a Huntley hearing, and these are going to address two critical constitutional issues. One, when the police searched his backpack at that McDonald's, that was a warrantless search. So the defense team is saying everything in that backpack gets thrown out. The second is that he was in custody, the defense team says, for 15 to 17 minutes before he was read his Miranda rights. So any statements that he made during that time frame cannot come into the courtroom. So the arguments are good, but there are, of course, exceptions to every rule. And I think it's likely that you're going to see that the prosecution will be able to establish that there was reasonable, it was reasonable for them to conduct that search for safety reasons, given all of the circumstances surrounding this case.
What's also interesting here, Misty, this is not like one of these procedural hearings that is over and done with in like an hour. It is possible that this could go over the course of the whole week, right?
Yes, this could go over the course of the whole week. The defense is calling two police officers from Pennsylvania, and prosecutors are going to call a multitude of witnesses. And it's really going to dig into the circumstances surrounding that arrest. I mean, this is a highly consequential hearing because what was in that backpack is pretty critical to the prosecutor's case. It was the 3D printed gun. It was the silencer. It's what's been called the manifesto. So this is going to be a very, very consequential hearing. And if the defense is successful at getting any of this stuff out, it really changes the course of the entire trial.
There's also, we covered this over my show, I think it was last week, this recent ruling that Luigi Mangione can wear regular clothes, like civilian clothes during his trial. And it seems like that's significant because of the case of, frankly, optics, based on some of the legal experts we talked to.
Absolutely, because the defendant will look guilty if they're sitting at the table in prison garb. So it's a very, very common request that defendants will make to be able to wear civilian clothes. So it does not give that perception before the jury. And of course, in this particular case, Hallie, this is so many eyes on this. Even these pretrial hearings, the request is that he wear civilian clothes because they don't want that jury pool to be tainted before this case ever gets to trial.
Much to watch for sure. Misty Maris, thank you very much for being with us. We've got a lot more ahead tonight. The governor of West Virginia will join Top Story Live after two members of his state's National Guard were shot in what officials call a targeted attack here in Washington. His message to the troops still stationed in D.C. and to the families of both victims. That's next. We are back now with the latest on that deadly shooting here in the heart of the nation's capital. Those two members of the National Guard shot. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, part of a deployment from West Virginia. Last night, you saw other National Guard members standing at attention for the dignified transfer of Specialist Beckstrom's body to the medical examiner's office. I want to bring in now somebody who has lived this over the past couple of days, and that's West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey. He's joining us now live here on Top Story. Governor Morrisey, we're glad to have you here, although we wish it were under better circumstances.
No, thank you so much. I think there's an important story to tell, and it's about West Virginians who are grieving tonight.
So then let's talk about that. First, do you have any update? We have to start here on the condition of Andrew Wolf. Have you talked to his family? How is he doing? Do you know?
Well, I know that he's still in very critical condition, and so the family has asked me to send prayers. And that's the only request they made, but we know that this is a very serious issue. I'm not going to get in front of the medical personnel, but what I can say is that everyone in West Virginia is pulling for him to get better. We obviously had the terrible news with Sarah last night that she has passed. And I know a lot of people in West Virginia are just wondering, why did this horrific act happen?
When you talk about Sarah and her family, and we've reported on what we've heard from those around her and what an incredible person she was, have you had any chance to hear from her family members? Do you plan to attend the funeral at all?
Yeah, so I actually spent a bit of time with the family. I was at the hospital 3 times the last couple of days, and obviously spent a lot of time with the Guard because we want to make sure that we're keeping our spirits very high. The people in the Guard absolutely loved Sarah. They loved Andrew as well. These were popular people. They were beloved, but they were also greatly respected. The other critical piece I want to mention tonight is that these are people that were in there for the right reasons. They were volunteering.
That's right, they volunteered
for the cause. I think a lot of people don't report about that. That's really critical. They stepped up because they wanted to serve their state. They wanted to serve their country, and they believed in the mission.
I want to ask you about that, but I want to ask, too, just because you mentioned not getting ahead of medical personnel is important. The day that this happened, obviously, you had sent out that message that you believe both of these individuals had died before we knew that. You corrected it, fairly quickly, but can you explain at all how that happened in a moment when people were looking for...
Yeah, no, look, I mean, in situations you're looking for the... accurate information from the most credible people, and everyone believed we have that. And then 20 minutes later, there's different information. So you correct it, you move forward, and that's what you do. Try to provide accuracy to people, and that's what we've been trying to do the last couple days.
So let's talk about those West Virginia National Guard troops, because the Pentagon now says they are going to add more people, more National Guard troops here in Washington, where we are, in response to what we saw earlier in this week. If asked, would you send more West Virginia National Guard troops here to the nation's capital?
Well, I think the most important thing to know is that we just recently had about 300 to 400 National Guardsmen, and that force has been reduced to 160 to 170, and they're all volunteers now. So I'm not going to get in front of whether we're going to be having more troops come in. What I want to say is this: everyone here believes in the mission, and they wanted to be here. So, there's going to be plenty of time to talk about how many troops will be in. But I will say this: the mission was something that people believed in, because how could you object to reducing crime in the nation's capital? And that's what they were there for. They thought that the people were treating them exceptionally well. When law enforcement are walking around, when the National Guard is walking around, it sends a really positive and a special message to those in the capital city.
Well, I want to ask you about your message to those Guard members, but can I just get some clarity on the numbers? Because there's about 180, so far as I understand it, West Virginia National Guard members here in Washington now. You said about 160, 170. Do you mean left back home in West Virginia?
Yeah, that they were there for the first couple months, and then as the force was reduced, then now we're down to about 160 to 170 now.
So do I hear you saying then, Governor, you're feeling strapped about possibly volunteering more of those National Guardsmen?
No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is this, is that right now, I want the focus to be on the families. I want the focus to be on West Virginia healing, because this is a horrific tragedy. And so there are going to be a lot of people that are going to want to talk politics. They're going to want to, wrongly blame the Guard members, and they're going to talk about why they were there. I think they were there for the right mission, and they were trying to really be helpful, and they believed in that mission. And there'll be plenty of time to talk about what happens in the future with respect to our troops. But we only send our troops in for good missions that are legal, that are constitutional, and that defend the homeland.
What is your message to those troops who remain here in Washington, to your people from your state, from West Virginia?
I think one of the most important things is that West Virginia has your back. I think President Trump has their back as well, and that we're going to do everything we can to help protect you. We're going to do everything we can to support you. We're going to do everything we can to support the families, especially the ones that are grieving right now. Sarah's parents and also Andrew's parents and extended family. These are people that are going through some horrific things, but West Virginia always steps up to help ensure that no man is left behind. That's certainly what we're doing here.
The focus, of course, and appropriately, on the families of Sarah and of Andrew here as they live through what has been a nightmare these past couple of days. There has also been, as you well know, Governor, political fallout from some of this, and you've seen it coming from President Trump, who you just mentioned, who is now suggesting a crackdown on green card holders, for example. We saw just in the last couple of hours there's going to be apparently a pause on asylum claims right now. Is that the appropriate response from the federal government, in your view, to this?
Well, I think it is. I mean, quite frankly, what President Trump is doing right now is he's reviewing a lot of the policies that started under the Biden administration. And I know as Attorney General, I was involved in a lot of litigation with the border disorder that was going on. This is cleanup. I think what President Trump did in terms of the new vetting procedures, I think that's going to be critically important. And I think you have to look to prevent this sort of thing from coming and occurring the way we saw just a couple days ago. I can't predict what the future holds in terms of all the policies that will change. But when you have something that's this horrific, and you have literally millions of people that came illegally into the United States over a prolonged period of time, it's good to check on that and make sure that your policies are up to date. That's what President Trump is doing.
Worth noting that the suspect's asylum claims were approved by, of course, two separate administrations there, both the Biden and the Trump administration. But, Governor, we know that your message tonight is on the troops and their families, and we deeply appreciate your time.
I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you, Governor Morrisey. Thanks so much for watching Top Story. I'm Hallie Jackson in Washington. Tom will be back next week. Have a great holiday weekend. We've got more news on the way.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.